Yeah, the idea today, Joe, was to just get an update from you around plans for the rest of the season. I know you still a bit of the season to go, and you had some ideas about some more racing, but there was also a plan around a huge ride across the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, well, why don't you be cool if you could talk us through it?
Yeah, so it's mid-September at the minute, and there's two races to go. So I've got UCI World Gravel Champs and Rancho Gravel Earth Final. And the Gravel Earth is a series I've been doing most of the year. Um, Two relatively big races, I'd say. And interestingly, I'm not it's not like the start of the year where I was in peak everything condition. I've been a little bit sick the last month, so it's like trying to mix training to basically get the biggest bang for the buck rather than long gone are the days of full confidence and cockiness of early season. But it's like it's world champs and it's in Belgium. It can't not be missed, kind of thing. Um,
And tell us when that is. That's early October, right?
yeah, that's 5th, 6th of October, something like that. And then the week after, I'm racing about 2 hours from Girona, which is the Earth final, and then that's me done racing for the year. Yeah, kind of. I was thinking of my ride yesterday. It's actually been quite well, a very good year. If you'd have told me at the start of the year everything that's happened, um, like just the highlights, I'd have been like mega. I'll take that every day of the week. And then off season. So off season and time to chill out, and so I have a couple of weeks off the bike, heading back to Vancouver, see my girlfriend's family, and then because I haven't done enough adventures this year, we decided to do one more Pacific Northwest adventure, riding from Vancouver to California. So yeah, 2,500 kilometers, give or take. We'll be driving a little bit. And yeah, it's like during the season, you don't get to go necessarily where you want to go. You go where you're forced to go because races, or even as a privateer, like races are in unusual places often. So this is a way of me, my girlfriend, and our other two housemates are just going to bundle everything into a car and do a bit of an adventure on no one else's schedule but ours.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant. Like my first thought is that is a busman's holiday. Like you ride a bike professionally, and the first chance you get, you would just want to go on a long, long ride. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's funny because all the last part of the season on here, or if anyone's seen me personally, it's like I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. And that's true. Like I'm tired of traveling, I'm tired of everything. Like it's just been a long year, my body's run down. It's quite normal this time of year, like kind of emotionally tired. But the thing with a trip like this, especially with what three of one of my closest friends, is it kind of unlocks why you originally started riding. It's
Mm.
just seeing new places, doing stuff because you can. Like, there's no reason we need to get somewhere at 4 o'clock, or there's no reason we have to start at 9 a.m. or be on a start line here, or if it rains one day, we can just bundle everything into the car and whatever. It's like it's on your own schedule and it's proper adventuring. Whereas, however much I love privateering in the US and doing what races I want to do, you're still on someone else's schedule.
Yeah,
And this is just an excuse for like group of mates to go and do something cool, and it just happens to be on the bike. Like we have to be riding. So we'll
yeah,
have, say, 2.5 weeks off, and then our first week and a half of training will be, well, doing a big old trip. But the roads look spectacular. It's kind of one of my biggest not downfalls. One of the biggest shames of doing these amazing trips to the US all season is you only recon race courses. And the race course is often like the worst roads or the worst trails around there. So
yeah,
like you go to all these beautiful places and people are like, oh, did you do this climb or did you go see this road? And the answer is always no, I just rode the racetrack. Whereas
yeah,
this is a chance to just do if there's a cool road 50K to the left, we can just divert and go ride it. Or if
yeah,
there's a coffee shop or a restaurant you want to check out, again, just divert and ride longer. And
mm,
even stuff like we're gonna be riding over the Golden Gate Bridge.
mm, right.
So there's a lot of cool stuff. It's Riley and I, my housemate, we were talking about it last year. And about 6 weeks ago, we said if we don't do it now, it's gonna be next season. It's gonna be next season, and then I don't know, we'll get a dog or whatever, so we can't do it next season.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like no time like the present.
yeah. So I'm talking to quite a few young people at the moment who are trying to make decisions around, they finish school and does it look like uni or gap year, or do I go and start an apprenticeship and do a degree that way? And I'm kind of telling them the same thing. Just be Prioritize the experiences. Like
Exactly.
you'll be a long time working. You'll be a long time with welcome responsibilities that you kind of serve. So when you can, do these things, and it's making me think. As soon as you described it, it definitely made me think about like childhood, like riding a bike is probably the first time you've got sort of independence, sort of like in terms of mobility, and that sense of freedom. Just cycling around your housing estate to your mate's house, or saying I'm going to cycle thousands of kilometers across the Pacific Northwest. I think it taps into that same initial like moment of revelation. Like as soon as the first time you kind of confidently on a bike, you think, oh my God, the world has just opened up a bit.
Exactly. And it's like, it's excitement as well, because all season we're kind of like trying to be our best and not trying, having to go to these places, whether it be for me, a gravel race in Texas, or for Maggie, the Tour de France or the Olympics. And like, we all love racing, but we love adventuring. That's why we didn't get in cycling in the first place to race. We got in it to ride our bikes in cool places.
Yeah.
And you get to the end of the season, it's like, oh, what can I do? And every year I like to do something different. Like last year it was slightly more stupid. It was a London loop, and that ended up in tears on the floor. But when an opportunity comes to ride 2,500 K across the west coast of the US, it's like it's one of those things you're like, wow, people probably think about this their whole lives. And
Yeah,
because of how we set up our lives, we can literally do it at a 6-week notice, even less if we want to.
will it turn into a race? So that's my
No.
next question. No, you
Well,
sure? Nobody's going to start half wheeling and suddenly it's like, oh right, it's on.
there's so it's going to be early winter training for us. So
Right.
it's like it's pretty much just miles in the legs sort of training, but there's a few times where we'll have some lower intervals. And Riley and I already just last night we're having dinner looking at a KOM, which is it's a kilometer off the boat, so a kilometer off the ferry, and this hour-long climb at I think it's like 360, 370 watts. And we was like, oh, I bet we can get it, definitely. And it's like, but we don't need to. But I think there's gonna be a lot across it's gonna be 9, 10 days as we just kind of load up Strava every day to see where we're going. It's like, oh, let's give that one a nudge. But there'll be no racing between us, mainly because we're too unfit to do it at that time of year. We've all just come off a couple of weeks off, and if you start a race, inevitably you're the one who ends up getting dropped.
Yeah, I do like the idea that so I'm loving that we'll get some really cool sort of interviews out of if we can somehow make it work that we connect up every few days and just have a quick check-in, like get some great stories and probably some revelations from the road. But I'm also quite loving the idea that you might actually want to publicize that you're going KOM scalp hunting over 2,500 kilometers, that you just pick them all out on Strava and saying, we're coming to get you.
It'll be something like
of amateurs on.
4 professionals, 1 great road trip, all heinously unfit though. So it's like, will we get the closer we get to California, the harder the KOMs will get, because California is like a mecca for cycling, but we'll also be getting fitter.
You'll be getting fitter.
So it's like, but more tired. But yeah, knowing how Riley and I ride, there's going to be something like that at some point. We just can't help ourselves. But yeah, that's the other thing. It's like we've both pretty much told our coaches, "Hey guys, you're on our schedule for these 10 days." Like, yeah, we'll train, but it's like we want to do 7 hours one day, or we want to do an effort one day. We're bloody doing it. We like winter's so long. You have from like November 1 to basically March 1 to train. So like having a couple of weeks of just adventuring, and it's kind of credit card bikepacking where we're taking a car and we're staying in hotels.
Right.
So yeah,
sounds brilliant. And we do need to get like a media plan together for the trip, because I think there'll be just so many great stories coming out of it. Just back to Worlds. I know that John is probably booking his flights today. He's sneaking off to Belgium. And so like, what can he expect? What can he expect from the weekend at Worlds?
I honestly don't know. Like, I've never done a gravel worlds. I've done a road worlds as a junior, but think it's gonna be carnage. I think it's the best way of describing it because every race in Belgium is carnage. Like, gonna be crashes. It's gonna be everything. There's a reason I didn't race in Belgium, or I haven't raced in Belgium for borderline 2 years now. My last race as a pro was in Belgium, and I was like, I'm never coming back, not on my own calendar. And now I've been kind of strung arm back because of world champs. But it's, I think, so we get on the Friday, the race is the Sunday. I think Saturday is going to be surprisingly boring. It's just me going through the motions, pre-race riding, getting bottles ready, all the standard stuff. And then Sunday, John doesn't know this yet, and he's off screen, but there'll be some feed zones. So trying to navigate feed zones, and it's 180k, I think. But racing in Belgium is like nowhere else. It's probably the only place you can actually genuinely use a water analogy for what bike racing is like. It's kind of kill or be killed in Belgium. If somebody's coming up on your left, you kind of got to go like that. Or if somebody's going to chop you on the corner, you've got to block them first. Whereas a lot of other places in the world, there's a bit of respect there. Belgium doesn't really have respect. And it's where I first learned to race my bike in, well, 2017. I probably did my first race out in Belgium. And doesn't necessarily suit me as a rider, but it's like a thrill, but not a thrill you want often, if you know what I mean. And then afterwards, so it finishes in Leuven, which is like a really, really fun city.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of just looking forward to crossing the line and having an enjoyable time in Leuven. Kind of big expo, world champ. It's Belgium and it's the cycling world championships, even though it's gravel. It's going to be a spectacle. Results wise, I've said this all year that I've had no goals, which has been a lie because obviously I do have goals for like Redlands. I wanted to do whatever, or Rattlesnake I wanted to win. This one I'd literally have 0 goals. It's go have fun, and whatever that looks like, whether it's being in the front group or getting dropped after 10k, just have fun and race hard. Yeah, it's funny going into a race knowing you're not going to be at your 100% capacity, but that's
Well,
just
I'm
life.
curious about that, and so my question will be around performance. So great outcome is set aside, so there's no expectation around. Like when you say goal, I'm thinking that you're talking about the outcome, podium, top 10. But your language then just hinted at some performance criteria that you want to uphold, like have fun, race hard. So just tell me a bit more about the performance that you'd like to deliver.
I think a good performance for me is if I get further into the race than I should do based off fitness, as in further into the front of the race. And that's something you do based off kind of skill and technical ability, like knowing how to race in Belgium, which I'm pretty good at. Because yeah, like I'm probably 5 to 8% down on peak power at the minute. Just because of how the back end of the year's been, and you're always a little bit tired at the end of the season. But being crafty, getting your bike in the right place, moving up at the right times, kind of honing the skills, and then if that wherever that puts me, so be it. But if I'm kind of on the back foot all day and I've not got the legs, that's when it's like a lose-lose. But I'll probably never do. I will never do another World Championships in Belgium in my life. So I think if you can't enjoy Belgium World Champs, you kind of it's almost a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
Even if though it's gravel, it's not Road Worlds, which are much bigger. It's one that you just got to enjoy.
Yeah, sounds great. Like have fun, race hard, really draw on your sort of tactical racecraft experience, like pull all your experience and put it into the race. That's great performance criteria, and like the outcome will take care of itself. But,
Yeah,
nice.
and it's funny if you'd have said to me 5 or 6 years ago, "Oh, you'd be racing a world champs in Leuven," I'd have been like, when I was junior, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, world champs on the road is there in 2022? It'll be those." If you'd have said to me like 5 or 6 years ago, "We're racing worlds in Belgium in a different discipline," I'd have been like, "Hang about, like what?" It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made sense to me. So I think just remembering that, like, it's yeah, it has only been 2 years, which I
Yeah.
always forget. I keep, as you know, on and off this call, I always get carried away thinking I'm in like year 10 of this, and it's one of those moments. Like, maybe it's good to look back as it is to kind of get caught up in the what could be or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a great plan for a race, and possibly you know, a little bit of fun afterwards in Leuven, and yeah, take the time to just reflect. It's like, wow, that's crazy. In 2 years, we've got to this point. And then one more race, and then a brilliant sort of trip to wrap the year up. Sounds
Exactly.
epic.
And that's where we are now. It's like I'm probably putting just as much, if not more, brain work into planning 2025 as I am to finishing off 2024. It's one of those, like, if you don't start planning early,
Yeah.
you're constantly on the back foot. So it's a busy time of year when you put everything
Yeah.
together.
I mean, it's definitely yeah, you need to start planning early. I know that it's a bit too early for us to get into it. And I know there's probably a lot of moving parts, spinning plates. And you know, we'll definitely revisit that subject at some point in the future. But for now, if anybody is thinking about sponsoring cyclists, then you know how to get in touch. And yeah, in the meantime, Joe, have a brilliant time. We're going to check in. We'll check in after Worlds for sure. We'll get John doing some feed zones and some sneaky video stuff.
Yeah, I think that's going to be I might take my one of my GoPros and put it on John to see what a feed zone is really like.
Yeah, I would love to see. Yeah, a chesty GoPro on John's, so we see
Yeah.
like bottles bobbing around, the panic. Brilliant. Awesome, Joe. Then yeah, go well, and we'll catch up soon, mate.
Mega. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, cheers.